Okay, Justin, this is Dan with Senior E-Bike Nation.
Yeah.
And I have a YouTube channel that's reaching out to people all over the world. And there's an importance, especially in e-bikes, as myself a senior, 71 years old. It makes us be able to get out and ride a whole lot easier than it is to, let me get back into the picture here.
It's in the camera now.
Than it is to just ride a regular bike. I mean, it's much more difficult when you get older, and of course everybody will find that out. And this is Justin. This is KNG Bike Center here in Kettering, Ohio, actually a suburb of Dayton.
Yeah.
But I just noticed on their website they have 3 different bike shops.
Yeah.
One in Xenia, one in Centerville.
That's correct. And one right here in Kettering, yep.
And they've been around since 1973.
Yeah, exactly. 50 years.
50 years they've been around. That's saying something for a
Yeah.
bike shop especially. But anyway, I just want to ask you a couple questions. I see your hours are 10 to 6 on Saturday, 10 to 6 Monday through Friday, and closed on Thursday.
They close on Thursday. We get a little busy for repairs. Our Xenia store's closed on Wednesdays, but
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
we shut it down so we can get your bikes done.
And I've got you, how long you've been in business. What service do you actually provide? Not only just e-bikes, but regular bikes.
Full service. We do everything.
Okay.
We do overhauls, do full tune-ups. We do wheel builds. We service shocks, electronics.
Hello, I know you guys used to do this, so great.
Thanks. Thank you.
And so you do, I know you do e-bike repairs only on your own brand, obviously.
We actually started doing a little bit more on other brands as well.
That
Opening
is
it up.
important.
It is very important. The key is if we can get parts.
Okay.
That's the key to it all. If we can get parts, we can work on the bike. We can try to troubleshoot it. The problem with some e-bike brands, you can't get any help from the manufacturer to either get into the firmware or get into computer systems to do it. But if we get help and we get parts, yeah, we'll work on anything.
So basically, I'm assuming most bike parts are coming from overseas, China, wherever.
Oh yeah, a lot of the e-bike stuff's coming from China.
Is that including e-bikes in themselves in general? I noticed
Yes.
I got an e-bike sent to me from a manufacturer in California. Wanted me to, they just sent me bikes and I reviewed them for them.
Yeah.
And it was called Electric Bike Company, and they do everything there, but they still got to get parts and components from around the world.
Yeah.
And but I wish we would have more companies or people, startups, to in this e-bike industry to manufacture them here.
Yeah.
I don't know how much regulations are involved there.
Yeah.
Batteries, especially battery. I want to touch on batteries a little bit. It's a
Okay.
huge issue with fires right now.
Oh, it is.
New York especially, but you've got apartments, you've got, people are just condensed together a whole lot. And we're finding out everybody's scared of buying e-bikes because of that. Can you speak into that a little bit?
Yeah, so your good e-bikes, you really don't have an issue on. Your manufacturers that are well known and have safeguards. The cheaper ones, the ones you're getting from the Amazon that are super cheap.
You're okay, it's still coming.
Okay. The ones that are just really budget oriented.
Okay.
They don't have the safeguards in the controllers to watch to make sure that battery doesn't heat up and the wiring. I actually had one catch on fire in the store.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a controller catch on fire right in the shop when I was working on it for a guy, and we ended up having to just replace his whole e-bike kit and put a whole new motor system on it.
So it burned, pretty much destroyed everything.
It destroyed the controller. It was basically the controller, and at that point I was just I wanted to just get him a reputable brand.
And for people who want to know what a controller is, it's basically the brain of the bike.
Yes, exactly.
It tells everything else what to do.
It does, and it holds a charge.
And
somewhat of a charge, and that's what, luckily it wasn't the battery. If it was the battery, we would have had more of a problem.
I just purchased this, I have 7 e-bike batteries, and of course I charge them in the house in the winter. And I highly recommend that people do charge them in the house. You don't want to really store them, and you really don't want to store them in cold weather.
No, cold weather will destroy the battery.
And keeping a battery in storage, you really want to keep it somewhere 30 to 70% charged.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I've heard 70 to 80% is like the perfect number, but it's hard to hit that. So anywhere between that is going to keep that battery longer.
Why would you not want to charge it to 100% in storage?
It seems like the memory of the battery gets to that point, and it kind of kills a little bit of the cells. It wants to, with any electronics, that's what I've read, cell phones and everything, when you put it into somewhat of storage, or you want 80% charge is kind of where you want to always be at.
What are some of the things that seniors are asking you when they come in your store? What are they looking for? Is it price? Is it safety? What would you agree with?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, they want a step-through frame, something that they can get on and off easily.
Okay.
Something that's going to be safe.
Yes.
Something that's going to be reliable. Reliability is a big one because yes, the bike's 60 pounds and they can get 30 miles away from home, and if
Yes.
the tires go flat or you've got a motor issue, then they're pedaling back or they can't find someone to come get them.
Been there, done that.
Exactly.
So batteries, when the manufacturer says you're going to get up to 60 miles, 50 miles on a battery charge, do not believe that.
No.
It depends on the weight of the rider, depends on the cargo, depends on the wind, depends on what pedal assist you're riding
Yeah.
in.
Depends how much effort you're putting in.
Yes.
Everything. There's a wonderful range calculator that Bosch has on their website.
Oh,
that does
did not know
really
that.
well. Yeah. So if you get on there, you put your weight, what cadence you're riding in, because that affects the amount of battery you're using. You put the terrain and a couple other things, and it'll tell you how far that battery will get you.
What would you say the difference between a Bafang and a Bosch? I know it's the Cadillac with the Bosch.
Yeah, Bosch, number one is the service.
Okay.
Number one, you have a shop almost anywhere in this nation that can work on
That's
that.
good.
You have a Bosch on your RV and you're out in Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, you can find a Bosch certified mechanic
Yeah.
anywhere.
Okay.
That's the number one. Parts readily
Yeah.
available anywhere. That's another one. The key to it is being able to get help in parts, and Bosch has a wonderful service network and distribution of parts.
What would you say on maintenance on e-bikes that people should be doing I mean, I ride 5,000 to 7,000 miles a year, all on local trails. What should I, as a senior, when do I service it? When do I bring it into your bike shop?
I usually go at least once a year.
Okay.
E-bike maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
Chains get worn out, especially with the mid-drive motor that puts more stress on drivetrains. So
Yes.
you want to be watching the chain, you want to be watching
Okay.
the cassette. Tires wear out faster, so you want to make sure you're watching that rear tire, especially because there's a lot of weight on those tires, so they wear out quickly. Rims.
Yeah, I do wear the back tire out a lot more than I do the front.
And it's natural. And then the rims, because you can't really set the weight off of the rim on an e-bike. It's hitting
Yes.
more bumps, so those spokes loosen up a lot faster. So those are your main ones. You want to
Yes.
the bolts loosen up faster. Everything's just kind of vibrating because it is a heavier bike and it's hitting things harder. So you need to just be checking those bolts. So at least once a year. I'd say.
What about hydraulic brakes? How often should you change the fluid, or should you change the fluid?
Well, that's depending on what kind you have.
Okay.
The mineral oil.
Mineral
you
is
want-
mostly used. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
and that you don't have to really change the fluid except when it gets overheated.
Okay.
So I usually suggest every year getting it checked, and you can see if the fluid's black or if it's been overheated. Now, dot fluid needs to be changed every year.
See, I didn't know that e-bikes use dot fluid,
Yeah, so if you have a SRAM brake or a Hayes brake or some other company.
but mostly Dorados or Tektros are going to be your hydraulic.
Yeah.
They're kind of on the higher end, would you assume?
Yeah, and Tetra uses the mineral oil, and
Yes.
as long as you're not overheating it, that fluid lasts a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as it gets overheated though, and there's things you can do with different brake pads and different rotors that help cool that stopping. They keep your stopping ability
Yeah.
strong even when going downhill.
But basically, I mean, other than if you need help with custom here, I definitely want you to. Batteries on volts versus amp hours. I know the amp hours, if it's a higher amp hours from, let's say, a 14 to a 17 and a half, you're going to get more
Be
range.
in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would I agree that you get more range out of a 17.5? Does the volts matter or does the amp hours matter?
It both matters, but amp hours is going to really be what you're looking at for range.
Okay.
A higher voltage with a higher amp hour is not going to kind of work the battery as much.
Good.
So, but amp hour, you do a calculation of amp hour with the motor watts, and that will really give you an idea on range and how far you can go.
Yeah, and people, that's the first thing they want to know is how far we'll go, how fast we'll go. I'm noticing on my channel that speed is not important to seniors
No.
anymore.
No.
I mean, I can do 33 mile an hour on one e-bike. I have, it's called a Soda Zephyr.
Yeah.
Very good e-bike. Another one sent to me, but it's very fast at 33 mile an hour. And you really, the laws here in Ohio in most states is 20 mile an hour.
Yeah. 28 for a pedal assist in Ohio. You have to be 16, and it's actually you have to wear a helmet.
Did not know that.
Yeah, those are the rules. Also, you can't put a motor higher than 750 watts.
Now, okay, I knew that, 750.
Yeah, so there's a few on the class 3s laws that are But most seniors don't care about a class 3. They want a 1 or a 2, depending on if they want a throttle. 20 miles an hour is fast for most people. And they just want the ability to get up the hill or get home if they get a little bit further out. They just want that ability to get further, to go different places and see different things.
And you know, I highly recommend locking your bike up when you go to a grocery store. This is a high theft item.
They'll walk away.
I mean, I don't care if you've got what chain you've got on it. They got portable grinders. They can just grind right through those things.
Yeah. So there's
alarms are good, but it's not gonna stop them.
So Abus makes a really nice lock.
I've heard of them.
That has an alarm. That also has a Bluetooth to your phone.
Yes.
So if it is messed with, it does alert you that's happening. That being said, can you get there fast enough? But at least I would also suggest GPS tagging them.
Yeah, I think that's pretty important. But yeah, I want to see a couple bikes you have here.
Yeah.
And walk around with the stand-up camera. I wanted you to explain a little bit about your electric bikes. I noticed when I was in here last time, your price points are not as high as some of these I see on the internet.
Yeah,
and we're talking a Cannondale bike. That's pretty much getting to the top of the line on e-bikes.
Yeah.
So I noticed your price points are definitely down compared to some e-bikes.
Yeah, so Cannondale starts out right about $1,800 on their e-bikes, which is
That's a reasonable
wonderful.
price.
It's great. Yeah, they've got an e-bike coming out soon that's going to have a throttle on it. That's going to be a class 2, and
Wow.
that's sub $2,000.
Do you know if it's got a thumb throttle or a twist throttle?
I'm not sure. I haven't
Not sure.
seen it yet.
Okay.
We hope that it comes out in about a month or so, and it's going to be a game changer for it to have a nice, well-known brand that has a sub $2,000 e-bike for people.
And you know, this e-bike manufacturing thing is exploding, and I'm gonna tell you, you get what you pay for.
You do.
I mean, I've ridden $750 e-bikes, and I've ridden $3,000 e-bikes, or up close to it. And the quality is absolutely going to be there if you purchase a higher-end bike.
Oh yeah.
The components are different.
Yeah.
So that's important, but we're going to walk around here a little bit. I want to see some of the bikes he has here.
Yeah.
I think this camera shut off, so that's a possibility. But anyway, we're going to walk around here. Oh, he's going to explain a little bit about his bikes.
Let's start with the Gazelle.
And that you can't even see the battery in it.
Yeah. So the Gazelle, they have the battery either in the back of the bike,
Okay.
on the frame, or actually inside the frame, which
Got
is
it.
nice. Gazelle is a Dutch company. They probably make one of the most comfortable e-bikes on the market. I don't know. There's a ride quality on this that's unmatched. When you put someone on a Gazelle compared to almost any other bike, they just come back smiling with, this is the comfort, this is the ride quality I'm looking for. They all use Bosch motors.
Okay, it's got a mid-drive.
Mid-drive Bosch motor on all their bikes.
Okay.
It's smooth, lower watts, high torque.
Yeah.
So it gets you further, better range.
What
That's the
about
key.
range will you get out of one of these on the Gazelles?
My guess on most people get about 40, 45 miles.
It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably somebody 150, 175 pounds, you're thinking? That's on the, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. And they got new, bigger batteries coming out for these.
Wow.
Yeah, the range is extending always, so.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, batteries. I mean, I double up on every bike I buy or is sent to me. I double up on the batteries, and I never buy a battery aftermarket. I'll tell you, that is the problem with the batteries they're having, are the aftermarkets that are not built for that bike.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they got crappy cells in them, and they're just not built.
That's what's nice about the Bosch. You can just find this battery almost anywhere.
Okay,
You just go grab it.
see, I would have not noticed that was even the battery until I got closer to it. It looks like the rack.
Yeah.
It's integrated right into the rack.
And this is the 400 power pack. They make a bigger power pack, but you can just buy multiple of these really easily from Bosch.
What's the amp hour, did you say, on these?
It's a 400.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what the difference between a 17.5 amp hour and a 400, what is terminology difference there?
The more amp hour, the more range you get, basically.
Okay, so that's a 400. Wow. That's a nice looking bike. And I see you got a battery down on the down tube.
Yeah, on this one,
Yep.
because it's a step over, the battery's down there.
Okay.
And then in this one, the battery's right inside there.
Yeah, I've got a couple bikes. I've got my electric bike company is like that one.
You find a little bit nicer bikes have that. And then with Gazelle, you can even get, you know, your belt drives.
Wow. Oh,
internal shifting.
You know, speaking of belt drive, I've noticed that on all my e-bikes that I ride, I stay in usually 7th gear or 6th, whatever the bike calls for. I never use a lower gear because if I want to go up a hill, I'm going to throttle up the hill.
Yeah.
So I think a direct drive seems to be a little more important
Yeah, it is.
than gears.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing e-bikes kind of getting away from that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you look at his inventory he has in here, I just came here the other day for the first time and I was impressed with all the inventory. He's got clothing, he's got helmets, any kind of merch you really want, seats. It's he's got baby carriers that you can put on the back of these, or animal carriers. So yeah, and I'm sure a lot of these bikes like the Treks and the Jamis, we're talking top end bikes. I can tell he does not sell a bike here that's really, I mean, the price point's got to be lower for people that afford them. But as you can see, his these don't even look like e-bikes on some of these. They look like regular bikes, but they got strong batteries inside of them. And again, they've got the batteries can be under a rack, or it can be in a down tube. It can be inside the down tube. And of course, most of they've all got computers on them, obviously. And I never recommend overriding a computer. I tried that on one of my bikes, and it wasn't a good idea. I actually drained that battery about twice as fast when I changed it to get more speed. But again, that electric bike company bike that I purchased was for comfort. It was not for speed. So he's got fat tire bikes here, and he's got 26-inch fat tire bikes here, which is really nice. Here's a 20-inch. I really like this Utopia. It's a 20-inch step through, and that's a very nice bike. So yeah, I may be looking into riding one of those one of these days. But yeah, I mean, the importance of buying a bike at a bike shop or online is there's a no-brainer. You do not purchase something online which is coming from China, and where are you going to get it worked on?
Or get parts or anything.
Or get parts, like he mentioned. It's not so much working. I'm sure a Bosch motor is a Bosch motor. Any motor is actually, if they've seen them before, they're all the same.
Yeah, they all work basically the same. It's just getting the parts that work with that model.
Yes.
I wanted to touch on one thing with this power pack.
Yes.
So when I say this is a 400, it's a 400 watt hour.
Okay.
Not amp hour.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And
You're right.
Yeah, and we want to talk about watt hour is a measurement of energy, and amp hour is a measurement of charge.
Okay.
So that's a little bit different. Some companies talk about watt hours, some talk about amp hours. So just gotta find what they're using and kind of their terminology, and then figure out from there. So.
Do you see many bikes coming back for repairs? Say it's just parts that just were I mean, they weren't built. The bike wasn't built properly with the parts, or.
I do not see a ton of e-bikes right now from
good.
the reputable brands
Yes.
that have like electric issues. You know, we get chains and brakes, normal stuff from riding, but I've only seen one issue with a Bosch motor since I've been doing this, and it was a sprocket had spun on the spindle from the rider never taking it out of the highest gear.
Oh, so as I mentioned earlier, I was talking about not taking it out of that gear. Should I be doing that on any e-bike?
Yeah, so when you have it in the highest gear and you're starting from stop, just from a dead stop, there's a lot of torque that goes on these parts. So you're putting the highest amount of torque to get up to speed with really low cadence. So there's a lot of pressure on that sprocket.
Never thought about that.
Bosch uses an aluminum sprocket for lightweight.
Yes.
So he spun his. It was a $20 part. We got it within a week and was fixed. It wasn't a big deal. So the only problem I've had with it could have been prevented by shifting up when you go to start and relieving some of that pressure off the motor, which actually is going to save your battery life, which is going to give you more range. There's kind of a little dance you do with the bike with cadence to make you have that range. But the fix was $20. It wasn't a big deal.
So there you go. I mean, I mentioned I never come out of one gear, but he's just educated me why you should come out of one gear. Go through your gears. Number one, you want to keep that sprocket. You want to keep the chain lubed as you're doing that. And he just mentioned it's causing damage if you just start out in a high gear, and eventually it could wear on those parts of that bike.
Premature wear. That's all it's going to do. And it's just you're going to be replacing parts quicker. So you know, keeping that cadence at that nice natural 75,
Yes.
80 cadence, that gives you pretty much the most range out of that battery. So starting out in an easier gear and then dropping
Yes,
to that one
yes.
gear, it's gonna really prolong the life of your bike.
And do you sell these online? I mean, can somebody come to your shop and order this bike?
We don't ship
Okay,
e-bikes.
gotcha.
You can order them online, pick them up here. We can order from a bunch of different companies, but we do not.
Okay, but
ship
you
e-bikes.
can get them here, so somebody can order it online at your company,
Yeah.
and they can pick it up here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good.
Definitely.
So, I mean, he's got several bikes here. I'm kind of interested in these two bikes here. Of course, this is a 26-inch fat tire bike.
Yeah, the Troxus.
This is a 4-inch fat tire on this bike.
Yes.
Looks like there's a Bafang motor, and it's probably got a 750, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's a 750 class 3. Their new bikes have 30 amp hour batteries on them, and they get like a 60-mile range.
30 amp hour.
Yes, crazy, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah, really cool company out of California.
Troxus?
Troxus, yeah.
Okay.
Right now, we've got bikes from them as low as $1,400.
And what's this one retail for?
This one's right at 2,000.
And I'm telling you, people, I've rode enough e-bikes now to tell you in the last 2 years, it's worth every dime of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get comments on my channel all the time. I would never pay that much for an e-bike. Then I ask them, do you own that e-bike?
Mm-hmm.
You know, to make a judgment on a bike or parts doesn't make sense if you've never done it.
No, you get what you pay for.
You do.
Your battery itself is about $600. We all know this.
That's
Look at
normal.
mine,
That's one of the
normal.
highest.
So you think you've got a bike, you add $600 to it. If it's $2,000, you got a $1,500 bike. You got a motor, that's a couple $100. So you might have a $1,000 bike that you're going 20 miles an hour on all the time.
Okay.
Do you really want to be on something that's cheap, going 20 miles an hour down the road? No, you want to be able to stop. You want it to hold together. You don't want it to quit working because you don't want to be
Stranded?
pedaling that home without the battery.
I can
So-
tell you, I've had to pedal mine for a couple miles. On these e-bikes, I mean, they start out at 60 pounds probably and go to 90 on some of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a heavy bike.
We do have them as low as 40 pounds.
Do you sell folding bikes?
Going right here.
That is a folding. I was interested in this one. This is a folding
That's a company called Wolf.
20-inch.
It's a 20-inch folder.
Okay.
It's a class 2.
And it's got, again, a 750 on it, the motor.
Yeah.
And where does it fold at?
Right here.
You can't even see it.
It folds right there, and then this handlebar folds down to get out of the way.
This is how my Zoda Zephyr is on
Yeah.
and with that type there. But I'll tell you, this is a great design. And you know what? People used to think these are girls' bikes. Back in the day, these were called girls' bikes, but they didn't have motors on them back then either. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, these bikes are built for comfort. They're built for seniors that can get on and off these, or somebody with disabilities, minor disabilities, where they can get out and ride. And I can tell people I've lost at least 25 pounds in the last year
Good job.
just riding this e-bike.
Congratulations. That's great.
But I do it every day or three. I do it all winter actually. And there's several trails around here that we have. Ohio is blessed with bike trails.
Yes.
You can go anywhere in Ohio, basically from Xenia, Ohio,
Oh, yeah.
anywhere you want to go.
5 different directions.
And but these e-bikes are becoming very popular in the bicycle industry. So I really wanted to interview somebody at a bike shop to where they can educate us a little bit why it's important not to spend $800 on an e-bike coming out of China or Thailand or wherever.
Yeah.
Because these bikes are built, and if something happens to that bike, you can just bring it in and they'll work on them. Yeah. I've seen the reviews on this bike shop. It's very high. I did not know they owned two other bike shops besides this one. So anyway, if any time you guys want to look at an e-bike and you're in the Dayton area, I highly recommend coming to KNG Bike Center and look at what he has here, because his e-bikes are exploding from what I can tell.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say the percentage of sales is now between e-bikes and regular bikes?
I'd say about 10% now, which from a year ago, it was probably 5. A year before that, it was like 1 or 2%.
So it is growing.
It's growing.
But of course, when you talk about e-bike pricing, it's not an inexpensive thing to do.
You can't just jump into it. You can't just come grab one. It's an expense.
And it's an expense, but it's also something that seniors, I feel, like my channel, they're always asking and wanting me to interview somebody at a bike shop. Now, the only other thing I'd like to ask you before we close out, Could I possibly come in someday and watch somebody and have a film somebody actually doing a repair and explaining a repair?
Yeah.
Rather be brake repair. What is your most common repair on any bike, would you say?
I mean, it's either going to be brakes or shifting.
Shifting?
Two things, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
brakes or shifting.
But anyway, I'm going to close this out now. I really thank the owner here to actually help me
Yeah, no problem.
help me explain a little bit about what this is about.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
And this is Dan with Senior E-Bike Nation. Share and like the video. I am also going to share this with the owner here so he can also maybe put it on his website.
Yeah.
And hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the next video.